Hi everyone. So today's video is a follow-up to a video I did a few releases ago. And the video I did a few releases ago was about the tax considerations that you needed to think about when you were planning on giving employee shares. So this video is actually about the sort of practical business considerations that you should think about if you're giving employee shares. I'm going to go straight into it. Let's just quickly talk about why you might want to give your employees shares. Quite often, people see it as a way to lock in talent in the long term, and that can be really beneficial to a business. But that takes us into consideration number one. Don't assume your employees are the same as you. Like when you are a business owner, having shares, having equity is very important to you. But quite often, employees want stability and they quite often just value the pay rather than delayed gratification from one day potentially selling the business. So when you are going down the route of giving your employees shares, potentially just have a think about whether you could achieve the same result by having some sort of long-term performance-based bonus scheme, which would probably be a lot simpler than giving them shares, and it might tick their boxes as well as yours. So that's one. Is it definitely the right thing to do, and is it worth the same to them as it is to you? So consider whether it's the right way to go in terms of long-term commitment. The second one I want you to all consider is getting a good quality shareholders agreement in place. Like a good quality shareholders agreement, it should talk about what happens if you have a dispute, what happens if they want to leave on good terms, what happens if they want to leave on bad terms, how you value the business, how you can arrange the transfer of the shares back in the payment plan behind that if you have to buy that person out. So having a solid shareholders agreement in place with all those points covered is a very important one. Really, that shareholders agreement should also cover some sort of code of conduct that is expected of them as a shareholder as well. So that's number two. Number three is really just consider the issues around financial transparency. So what do I mean by that? If your employees have shares in the business, what that means is they might actually be interested in the profits and the P&L in your business. And what that could lead to is an unnatural interest in that. But the key thing is, if employees start thinking and focusing and obsessing over profitability, you could end up with some actual side effects with that. Like there are instances where employees want to maximize the short-term profitability of a business, maybe because they think the business might be sold soon, or maybe because they just want to maximize that dividend they're about to get, and they're not thinking about the long-term future of the business. So it could lead to behaviors you don't necessarily want, but also it could lead to certain challenges about the way you run the business, because then they've got a vested interest in that profitability. So you just got to be ready for that. And the fourth one is actually working out what kind of shares to give that employee. Like they don't necessarily have to have the same share as you. There's like A shares, B shares, there's preference shares, there's non-voting shares, there's shares with rights to equity without rights to dividends. So there's a huge amount of flexibility when giving your employees shares. So that's something you really got to think about. Yeah, ultimately, you have to think about the result you want. You have to consider, and also based on everything I said about the tax rules in the other video, you might not be able to give them many shares. So you might need to give them the type of share where they don't have a lot of rights to the underlying equity of the business, but they have a disproportionate amount of rights to the dividends of the business. So there's lots of ways to do it. Best thing to do there is talk to an accountant. But if I could just summarize this, really there's four things to consider. Firstly, is it the right thing to do to give shares in the first place, or could you achieve a similar result with bonuses or some other incentive? Second is, what kind of shareholders agreement you're going to get in place. Third is how you manage expectations around finances and profitability. And the fourth one is what kind of share you give them in the first place. So really, I would say if you are interested in doing this, then definitely watch the other video which talks about the share and the tax issues around giving shares. But this will also give you some of the practical considerations around it as well. So thanks for watching. I'll see you at the next video.